Hi everybody, it's Brittany Kuhlman. I'm doing my case study on regulations governing technology for Module 12. All right, so first let's talk about the summary of the case. So we have St. Regis School. It's a rural school district. It serves K through 8. They have about 420 students with 2 teachers at each level. They have a small budget, allows for either new computers or software for those computers, but it comes mainly from the teachers paying for it. We have Mr. Sample, a fairly new principal. He's been there about 3 years. Still feel like he needs to win people over. Mrs. Lynn is a librarian assistant. The school does not have a librarian, they just have her as the assistant. Mrs. Williams is an experienced teacher. Mrs. Brandon is a new teacher. And then we have Mrs. Evans, the PTA president. So what happened here was Mrs. Lynn copied computer software that was bought for the library. Originally, teachers would sign up for their time in the library. And then we had some teachers complaining, saying, hey, I'd really like to have this, every day in my classroom. So Mrs. Lynn took some flash drives, copied that computer software, and then distributed it to the entire school. Mrs. Brandon and Mr. Sample are the only two that are actually kind of concerned about the copyright. And then Mrs. Evans, she's the PTA president. She was pleased with the school district being resourceful and spending less money. All right, next. So we have the legal issues. The school violated copyright laws because the software creator had restrictions that governed the reproduction of multiple copies without their permission. Mrs. Lynn stated, I don't have a fancy degree, so I don't know the rules. Do you think anyone will know or care about a few copies? And she was mainly saying this because they're a rural school district. In fact, this would harm the creator because they are now losing money because they copyrighted those software. So this has an effect on the market. All right, so again, to summarize what happened, Mrs. Lynn, the library assistant, has made copies of a computer software and distributed them to the school staff when the creator has put restrictions on making those copies without direct permission. What are our facts? So first, let's talk about some people. Mrs. Lynn, again, the library assistant made the copies and distributed them. Mr. Sample is our principal of the school. Mrs. Williams is a veteran teacher and she accepted the copies. Mrs. Brandon is new to the district. She was concerned about copyright and did not accept the copies of the software. And then Mrs. Evans is the PTA president. Our place is St. Regis Schools, again, serving K through 8 students, about 420 of them. The program is our computer programs bought for the computer lab in the library that were then copied and distributed to classroom teachers. What we don't know is what that actual licensing agreement stated. Can those computers be in a different classroom, or was it specifically to the library computers? Next, let's look at our information. Our stakeholders, again, Mr. Sample, the principal, showed concern for the copyright violation. The school superintendent as well as the school attorney should also be involved in this situation due to legal issues pertaining to the case, just in case the creator had the opportunity to sue the school. The parents in the community seem to be involved in the school. Again, that PTA president actually helped copy the software onto the flash drives, and she was pleased that they were being resourceful and spending less money. The software company, Mr. Sample, should review the licensing agreement for them. And since, again, that agreement said copies could not be made without permission, this is affecting the market for the creator. Let's weigh some options. So what can we do as a solution? The first solution could be do nothing, keep allowing teachers to use the copyrighted software, don't inform the school superintendent or the school attorney, kind of brush it under the rug and hope we don't get caught. The next option would be Mr. Sample could write a letter to the creator asking if they can copy the software and use it for educational purposes. If the creator says no, they can collect all those flash drives and destroy the software. They can allot money into the budget for next year to buy additional copies. And then they should review their policies on copyright and schedule a school PD on copyright infringement. Along with this, they should also involve the superintendent and the school attorney just in case the creator says you can't copyright my stuff. The last option, again, reviewing the policy and update it as needed. Inform the school staff and the PTA about policies so that way if there ever becomes a time where, hey, we should copyright a software, our PTA can be like, no, we can't actually do that. We can destroy all those copies of the copyright software and then continue with the teachers signing up in the library for their time. We should give Mrs. Lynn a written warning about copyright infringement as well as educate her on those policies. And then we should also go ahead and post a job for a school librarian so we can get somebody with the degree and the qualified education. All right, so what can our pros and cons be? So if we're doing nothing, our pros, the teachers will continue to use the software when they want to. Those students are going to have the access they need to that technology, and the school saves money. Some cons, we're at risk for litigation towards the school, towards the staff. Are we doing the right thing? Are we being ethical? And then also, we're putting other staff at harm. Mrs. Brandon was not okay with the copyrighted sample. If we just continue to push that under the rug, she's going to feel uncomfortable. For the next solution, contacting the creator. Pros, we are reaching out for permission so we can avoid litigation. Staff would get an update on that copyright policy. A con would be the creator says, no, we can't make copies. All that software that was copied is going to be destroyed. And then that next year we could lose budget in order to buy more licensing. And then the last solution, policy review and action. The staff again would get updated on the policies regarding the copyright. Our con would be the software would be destroyed, and then Mrs. Lynn might feel targeted because of the action that Mr. Sample took in destroying that software. So what is my plan? Combination of contacting the software creator and a policy review. Rather than just throwing out the idea that the creator will not be okay with the school copying, I think Mr. Sample could write a letter asking to make additional copies of the software. Again, saying, hey, we're in education. It's going to stay within the school. We just want more kids to use it. Mr. Sample, along with the PTA and the school board, should review and update their school policies on copyright. And then Mrs. Lynn should be given a written warning for copyright infringement and then some PD opportunities to learn more about the law. And she needs to understand, too, that this can't happen again, that she will lose her job. All right, so how are we going to implement it? So Mr. Sample will inform the school superintendent and the school attorney about the copyright infringement. Speak with Mrs. Lynn that she committed copyright infringement and that until further notice, all flash drives will be destroyed. Review the policies on the copyright and schedule a PDA for staff as well as the PTA so everybody can learn about the copyright policies and they can all avoid litigation. Mr. Sample can then reach out to the creator of the software and ask for copies to be made for educational purposes, and then again post online the need for a librarian within the school. So this assignment related to the standard by allowing me to review the scenario and analyze the facts. I was then able to come up with a plan of attack for copyright infringement, which is shown in this presentation. This assignment was relevant to my learning because this is a real situation that could happen at one of my future schools as an administrator. While I'd like to think that most schools are up to date with copyright laws, I do think that some probably do try to skid by and try to save money or increase their student access to technology. I think it will be very important to review copyright policies at my future school and schedule PD day for all staff so they're up to date on the laws as well. And then this would continue as either like a public works assignment, and all new staff would have to be educated on our copyright policies. This assignment has allowed me to really dive into copyright and what would be appropriate way to address it as a school leader. I think it's important as an educator now to be sure that we are following the copyright laws and making sure creators are getting the credit they deserve. It's important to include copyright training into before the school year PD, especially to our new teachers, so they understand that we as a school can prevent any type of litigation. Okay, that's it.